Hello, 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 everybody. My name is Sheldon, lads, and I'm here with Otto. Do you want to go first?
Yes, I'm Otto. Nice to meet you, everyone. And we also have
Hendrik, it's a pleasure. So, Sheldon, what are we going to talk today about?
So this is our Coffee Weekly podcast, and since it's the first one, it's also called a pilot, and we are going to be talking about piloting. So does anybody has previous experience with piloting?
Well, I think we all do in some ways, right? I mean, we all have started doing something in our lives. We all had one idea, or maybe it was even part of a job. I mean, we're supposed to start doing something. But I was thinking, why don't we talk about our experience right now? I mean, we're all three sitting right now here doing a pilot and talking about piloting, which I kind of like actually. So how do you feel, Hendrik?
So actually, I'm a little excited. So I'm super curious how it goes. I think that's a super special thing with starting something up, like this little bit of natural adrenaline, whatever it's called, that you just can feel, and this kind of tension and positive energy. How is it for you right now, Sheldon?
Yeah, I think for me, what I find it mostly interesting is the magic that happens when you hit the record button. And the record button is an analogy for anything in life, like your first day at work, when you go to school for the first time, when you go up in the stage for presenting something, either at work or in an actual conference. And like these butterflies that you have in your stomach is a very nice feeling. A lot of people have a lot of fear, and actually I've heard that this is like talking about public speaking, this is one of the biggest fears that people, like the population in general, have. But I see it as a push forward, like an excitement that moves me forward. So that's what I'm feeling right now, these butterflies on my stomach. I'm using it as a fuel.
I actually remember when I was younger, I haven't talked about this for a long time, but I once participated in a theater show in school, in primary school. And I remember I was super shit scared of that moment because I knew I would be talking, I don't know, in front of 400 people. And I was like, oh my goodness, what happens if I forget something? And I did, of course. But there was there was my teacher on the side, and I was like, yeah. And I remember me recalling the script every morning for months, but still it didn't really fit everything in my brain. But I think the experience was awesome. I mean, especially in that time during my life, because you get to see that speaking right now in front of a podcast to a screen in my kitchen is kind of the same thing as speaking in front of a lot of people. So of course you are in a different setting, you're on a stage, there might be I don't know if we had a camera, I'm not sure, but you really have, I mean, you can really feel, okay, it's live, it's really, you can really feel it. But even right now, I still feel a very similar feeling, even though there's not 400 people with their eyes staring at me. But I think the experience makes it so great because it is something that we're not really used to. But in the end, it's always going to be fine. I mean, of course, you can fuck up something and you can forget what you want to say. But it was nice seeing that even if you do, it's not that bad. I mean, we're all humans and we're not people are not mad at you for, and even if they are, I mean, I don't think that's really my problem, to be honest. So I think it's a good thing to do.
Yeah. Actually, I want to pick up where you left. So my experience is also like all the people watching you, they really want you to succeed. So they came to the audience, they bought a ticket, or they spent their evening with you being on stage because they want to see you succeed in some way. Most of the people don't come there and want oh, I hope this person fails there. They're like, I'm here for a great show, so I want the actor, the speaker, to be super successful and give me a really good show. So everybody that's in the crowd usually wants to be supportive of you. And even if you fail, they wish for you that you're still comfortable in the situation, that you can take it with some humor. I mean, imagine if you fail, but you can make a good joke of it, Like the audience is the one that profits the most from it. So yeah, a lot of the
Did that ever
pressure
happen to
is
you?
just artificial.
Did that ever happen to you?
Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of experience like with playing handball, for example. Like the first time I was on the stage, I was also super nervous and there was people watching and I was just doing the sport for 2 months or something. And basically everything that I did, I fucked up. But in the end, it was not a problem. I mean, we lost the game hard anyways that day and I still had a team to compensate. So that's maybe another interesting point. So if you're with a group of people, like that's maybe why we are such so social creatures, why we like to be in communities, so we can catch each other when we fall down and we can help each other.
But do you think, I mean, the experience, did it make it better that you failed? Or would it have been better if you won?
Oh, I think it doesn't matter actually. I think it's pretty alright to fuck up because after a certain amount of fuck ups, you just don't care anymore. And that's when the ease comes in. That's when things start to go naturally. That's when the pressure takes off. And I think that's when personalities really can start to shine when this pressure is gone. So it's like burning a house down and you don't care if something else burns anymore or burns more because everything is burned already. And you're like, okay, now I can anyways build a clean start. So I think this can be a kind of positive attitude to this kind of situation where everything goes wrong in the beginning. Okay.
Yeah,
Sheldon, what are you thinking?
I think it makes sense. There's like this term people used to say, toughness, mindful toughness, or something like this. It's something related to toughness and your mind, which means basically what you said, like you start building up on different types of failures, and then you create like a tough skin, and then the next failures are going to be easier on you, because like I think the fear that we have from failure is something that is it's like a anthropologic, like it comes from when we were cavemen and we couldn't fail because if you fail you're going to die, so then like things has to go right. But nowadays we have, like, provided that you have food, you have like a shelter and like basic needs, nothing really bad is going to happen with you. So we need to shift like this mindset to something in order to allow us to be more vulnerable and accept failures in a more like graceful way, let's say.
But that's super interesting. I mean, just thinking about the concept, if the environment changes, given that, yeah, we're not going to starve anymore. Like, okay, I mean, given that we follow the systematic capitalist approach, most people will survive in the society. But given that approach, then how come that I mean, to perform best, when you think about, I mean, Darwin's survival of the fittest or something, suddenly it becomes better to fail, which is so weird. So what would have happened if back in the days there was a caveman? I mean, I'm pretty sure they also failed, but they, of course, they could only fail so hard. They could only, you know, if they didn't kill one animal and run away in the summer, okay, they would be like, ah, damn it, I love, I don't know, elephant, or I love rabbit, or I don't know, whatever. A lot of cavemen even hunted elephants. I don't even know. But if they failed so hard that they forgot to put seeds in the spring that they could harvest in the autumn, and they don't have food for the winter, of course that is bad. But if in our society we can fail horribly, I mean, we can really fuck up. But then the question is, does it overall, like, does it make us stronger and better? Like, do we learn more from like the experience? Okay, I would have died right now if I would have been outside. Or does it actually just, I mean, make us even more traumatized, and I don't know, or we don't care anymore because we're like, fuck this shit, I can do whatever and I will be fine, you know? How does it,
Yeah.
like, yeah.
I think there's there are different outcomes for these depending on the person, and for example, if the person doesn't develop an awareness over the failure, they're gonna just failure and ignore it and fail again and again and again. But if someone comes with awareness and reflect on the failures and collect learnings from it, and then like on the next time they are going to be leveraging what they experienced with the failure, like to avoid mistakes on the next time. And also it's an interesting, since I was talking about that, I remembered that success is also something to be studied. So if we succeeded, it does not mean that everything that I did provided the success. Maybe I did something wrong and I succeeded in spite of it. So I need to also analyze my success to see like what contributed to my success I should continue doing, what didn't contribute, so maybe stop doing that, and so on and so forth. So I think it like in all scenarios, it comes a lot with like reflecting over what happened.
I agree a lot with you, Sheldon. Like this reflective part is super important. And I have a specific question to our topic today that kind of picks up where you left off. So yesterday, for example, we had the situation with a name, and I remember we had this process, okay, like how are others doing it? So we just talked about learning experiences, and we are also with piloting. And now I'm curious, like, how do you see the topic of learning from the failures or successes from others, especially when starting up? Because to be specific, I think that's a lot of people, or a lot of what people do in business. Like before they start something, they would go for market research, like what's working, like who's on the market already, what's working, what's not working. Is there a competitor, and why is there maybe no competitor? So did maybe someone fail already? So that's a lot of thoughts that people have usually before they start a business. And I'm just curious, how would you approach it? Like I remember, like yesterday we were checking with the names a little bit, like how do other people do it? Like also with the formats, like what's your usual approach in this area before starting up and learning from failures and successes from others? What do you think?
So
Yeah, you want to go first? Yeah, okay, I'll go. I think some stuff that I learned from UX engineers that I could apply to my life is like understanding why we're doing what we are doing, and on a creative process there is like this diversion where you throw out a lot of ideas, and then there is conversion where like you start filtering out the bad ideas and just like picking up the good ones. And I believe we kind of did that yesterday on the preparation. And so on the creative process, I believe it's important to first see what's on your head and try to avoid tempering your thoughts with other people. And you see this a lot on people, like that when they are creating, for example, writing a story for a book or for a movie, they try to avoid, or writing a song, they try to avoid listening to other bands to avoid copyright issues or something like that, like this. So this is the creative process. Then there is the, I don't know, the business process or the production process. Anyway, the process of putting the idea into something tangible. And when it comes to this, then I believe we need to always compare with the others, because like conflicting with names, like what if we came up with an idea for a podcast that there was another big podcast with the same name, for example. So I think there's two phases, and one, it's better to be like just yourself, your thoughts, and then you compare your thoughts with the rest of society and see how off you were or how like on point you were.
But I think, I mean, also just for the context about the situation, I mean, just for listeners. So yesterday evening we were meeting up to prepare the first episode, and we were thinking about what the name of the podcast would be. But I think that's a good example that really much depends on the context. So of course, if the goal is to find a suiting name, of course, people can fail in the same way because the set of names worldwide is given almost the same for the same person around the same time. But then let's say you look at some podcasters or I don't know, people that started a business and maybe they took the time to really write like a postmortem to like really explain, this is our idea, this is how we went, this is where we saw the signs, and this is where it crashed, and that's where we decided it's not going to work. But probably you can do the same and it's going to work for you. So it's, I think, really hard to determine how much you can learn from someone else's experience and how much you should not repeat that mistake. I mean, I think it takes, of course, like some good judgment to decide that. But I really think, especially knowing your situation, meaning your context. So you know what your skills are, you know your environment, you know, I don't know, your experience, your dreams, your fears, that might probably even be more important than previous experiences. Because let's say, I don't know, isn't that like Rovio, the company that did Angry Birds? I mean, it was their famous story. They did like, I don't know, 115 apps or something until they made Angry Birds and it became famous. So maybe they did the same shit, the same concept, like come up with a cute whatever, market it, see if it works, if it not, cut it off, repeat, repeat, repeat. So maybe even some things, like it's just luck. Maybe it's nothing you did wrong. Maybe it's just something that just didn't happen because it wasn't meant to be. So how should we know as people, like, is it something that is based on me and my context? Is the idea shit? Or was just the time not right? But it's kind of the same as the context, I would say. Or I mean, luck, cosmic fate. What do you think?
Actually, I think luck plays a certain role, but it can be compensated by smart and hard work to a certain amount. But on the other hand, the smart part is super important here. I think if you put your effort into something that's not worth building at all, no luck in the world can help you. No hard work in the world can help you. So I was reading the Lean Startup, and the author mentioned actually something that I found super interesting. Like, it's not about what can we build, but it's more about what should be built. And I think that's a lot of what piloting is also about. Like, at least if you do it with the business perspective in mind. So test, like, it's a lot about this lean startup culture, like test early, like talk early to people, start small and stuff like that, to see like, to like avoid the situation that you put a lot of time and effort into something that will never perish, that will never grow a flower. So yeah, that's what I think. Sheldon, anything more on that topic?
No, I think you covered everything, and I believe when it comes to one like final thought that I had is like when you're exploring other people's ideas, or like looking out to validate your own thoughts or something like this, because the topic we're like learning from others' experience. I think that everybody that reads something, and when I say read, it can mean also like any other type of consumption of content. This person's gonna read through their own lenses, and like what I mean by that, like with their own biases and their own like dogmas and beliefs and whatnot. People read the Bible and become atheists. So like you cannot argue that the Bible is going to turn you a believer, because the opposite can happen as well. So I think it's important to always look for or like learn from others. And I want to quote Isaac Newton. I'm not going to quote to the dot because I don't know exactly, but he says something like that he reached thus far because he was standing on the shoulder of giants. So I think we can always build up as a society on top of others, and like learning from others. I mean, it's a very cheap, like you pay 15, 20 euros for a book, and you learn like a condensed
a lifetime of learning.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think it's a very interesting thing if you build this mindset towards like consuming content from other people.
I have the feeling that the more we realize what plays into success of a pilot or failure, I think it's a lot of factors. It is also your strategy. And I think that's pretty much maybe the biggest difference. So maybe everyone has a different strategy, but yet can succeed, maybe in the same environment even, but in 2 or 100 different ways. So I mean, maybe from our perspective, I would be super interested to hear like what your strategy is in a nutshell. I mean, I can start when I think about starting a project like this is what we're doing right here. I think it's good for me to have usually some kind of long-term vision. In this case, I don't really have any idea where this is going. I just kind of the opposite. I just feel it's kind of fun. And when you say building on the shoulders of giants, I mean, Coffee Weekly, the name of this podcast, has come from us or Hendrik and me meeting up every single week, and Sheldon and me meeting sometimes, but it was the idea that we started. And just realized, okay, it's something that kind of works. It's something that is there. So I don't have to like pull something from thin air. And the second thing is that, I mean, judgment, I know all of us three. So I would say that, yeah, we can come up with interesting topics to talk about. And the last thing would be, it's just very plausible, kind of easy. I mean, we can just spin up a meeting, we can record it and upload it literally for free. So there's nothing stopping us. And I think there's 3 factors, which is, I don't even know what the first one was, but the second one was building on shoulders. Oh, yeah, it was intrinsic motivation, or like just feeling. I mean, gut feeling, building on something existing. And I mean, of course, the resources, how much do you need input for the output? I think that's how I would balance like my decision or judging something if it would be a success or not. Because I think from this episode, we can learn a lot. From the next episode, we can learn a lot. But I'm not sad or overly happy if the first episode is like super good or super bad, because I just realize it's part of the process. That's my strategy. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, you can actually be emotional a bit more, I feel, especially in the positive side. But I'm wondering, like, I think we are out of time, aren't we?
Yeah. 2 minutes more left. Just go in a nutshell and we're going to be fine.
Okay. So yeah, like one thing I wanted to mention to conclude the part of the talk from my side. One thing that I'm always curious about is like, how do people manage like getting inspired and really copycatting something? So because I think there's a lot of room for creating value if you're bringing in your own thoughts into a product, into a process. And I think that's something that everyone can work on. Like, it's okay, I think, to get inspired by something, to say like, hey, that's a good thing. But I think what's even more important is like, what can I especially contribute to that? Like, what are they not doing perfectly yet? What can I do better? And that's what I want to see actually more of in the world, like to take your own thoughts and put it into the things that you create. And I think that's my summary for today. Sheldon?
Yeah, I want to end with a word, and I'm going to explain the word, perfectionism. And I'm going to define what I want to mean by this one. And I'm not a mental health worker or anything, so just a little disclaimer. But perfectionism is when it's bad. Is, I think it's mostly bad, but like I'm going to use the bad example. Is when you're you think that you're like everything that you do is not going to be perfect. Like, we are humans, we produce imperfect things. But if you leave this thought like in your head and you're like, this is not perfect yet, you're not perfect yet, you're not going to deliver anything ever. And I think this is an issue that a lot of people go through, and I am one of these people. Like, I have plenty of texts that I want to transform into YouTube videos that I never did. So for example, like, I'm procrastinating forever, and using this approach of like, let's do it, let's make like just the bare minimum to get a minimum viable product, which is what we are doing right now. it's something that is very important. And I want to leave this example to everybody that is listening. And I want to take this example for my life, for my own personal projects. And yeah, I'm going to end with this message. Just go and do it. It's going to be fine.
Nice. Otto?
Yeah, that's pretty much, I can second that. I mean, yeah, I think the most important thing is just, I mean, a pilot is a pilot because you do it. It's, as we said, it might be a good experience to fail. It is a good experience to succeed. So there's literally nothing stopping you from doing it and learning from it. So I will be rewatching this episode, certainly. And yeah, I would say we're at the end of our first episode of Coffee Weekly.
Yeah,
And,
thanks everybody. I forgot to brew my coffee. You're gonna learn throughout the next episodes that I'm a very heavy coffee drinker. But today I failed a failure on the pilot. I forgot my coffee.
I had a coffee-free coffee with some lime today.
All right.
Cheers.
All right, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you so
Goodbye.
much.
See ya.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.